evening, everybody. I am back with another tier list video. Today, I'm going to be ranking all of the Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super story arcs. They are, in this case, categorized by their main villain, and this is going to be including the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, as it is considered canon. Let's just get right into it. So, first off here, we have the Saiyan Saga, and the Saiyan Saga was honestly one of the better ones in my opinion. It was fairly grounded, and it was kind of easy to understand the power scaling in that one. Not to say that it was difficult in the other ones. The story in this one was the foremost aspect in my opinion. So for that, I'm gonna give the Saiyan Saga a high A. Next is the Frieza Saga, or the Namek Saga, whatever you want to call it. The Namek Saga as a whole, and just the Frieza Saga, is going to get an S tier from me. It is going to get this rating because it was the first time that anybody, but specifically Goku, went Super Saiyan, and it set up Frieza, who was a recurring villain, of course, and it was just the most powerful, in my opinion. The storytelling, the fights, even like the soundtrack was just amazing for the Frieza Saga. Next is the Android Saga, not including Cell. So this is Android 19, 20, 16, 17, and 18. I would give it a D, honestly. Not much happens. It's pretty much just Future Trunks comes to the past, and then they get beat by the androids. There's no real major developments, no power increases much for anybody. It's pretty much just them freaking out at how strong the androids are, but not actually doing anything about it, really. Okay, next is the Cell Saga. For the Cell Saga, I would give it a B. It's not as good as the Saiyan Saga or the Frieza Saga, but it is still pretty strong, and it's much better than the base Android Saga. What's also really nice about it is it gave us Super Saiyan 2 for the first time, and that's a really powerful scene where Gohan sees Android 16's disembodied head, and, he's just overcome with rage to overcome the barrier of the Super Saiyan, and that's, I think, worthy of at least a B. Finally, for Dragon Ball Z, we have the Buu Saga. The Buu Saga, overall, I don't know. Honestly, I'd give it a low B, because it's kind of disjointed, almost. There's just a lot going on. It covers a large chunk of the series. It's basically the latter third, and not a whole lot happens in it up until the latter third of that third. And the final fight is very awesome, and so is, Goku going Super Saiyan 3 and everything, but there's a couple things that are just a little plot holey, if you will, such as when Gotenks just can go Super Saiyan 3 out of nowhere, pretty much, and other things like that, or like Piccolo just randomly conjuring a hourglass. So I mean, it's got some goofiness to it, but it's also pretty powerful because, everybody on the planet dies at a certain point, and so it's got its pros and its cons. The Battle of God Saga, I would say, is an A, but a low A. I would give it this ranking because it was the real return of Dragon Ball. Otherwise, the only thing we had is GT, but that was relatively unpopular, and we hadn't really seen anything about Dragon Ball in more than 10 years. So Battle of Gods was a real comeback, and it was nice because it gave us the franchises it is today. After that came Resurrection of F. I wasn't a super big fan of Resurrection F. While it did bring back Frieza, it really didn't do that much. It was kind of just like a rehashing of the Frieza Saga, but shorter and worse. The whole lead up to the Super Saiyan Blue was, I think, some cool storytelling where Whis was training Goku and Vegeta on Beerus' planet, and you got to see their training and everything. But the overall fight was relatively short, and for those who've seen it, you'll know that it kind of ended twice. It was a little bit of a rug pull, and I'll leave it at that. So next up in the show came the Tournament of Destruction, and I would give the Tournament of Destruction I'd give it a low B, It was interesting that it introduced all these other universes, and at the very end, we got to see our first stuff of Zeno. But the reason why I wouldn't score it higher is because it was kind of just a crappier version of the Tournament of Power, and it was relatively low stakes. I mean, I say that it's, an entire planet, but it's just seemed a little boring to me. It kind of came out of nowhere, I feel like. After that comes the Zamasu Saga. I'm actually quite partial to the Zamasu Saga. I would say it's better than Battle of Gods. I liked Super Saiyan Rose, and it was a cool concept that Goku's power and a god's power were fused, and that they had to fight an immortal enemy. That had never really been done before, and so I think, just for that, at least it deserves an A. Moving on, there was the Tournament of Power. The Tournament of Power, like I said, I think is just a better Tournament of Destruction. Not super great, not my favorite or anything, but I would give it a low A. It was very cool, the fight with Jiren and Toppo, and getting to see Ultra Instinct and everything, just when everybody freaked out about Ultra Instinct, and Beerus was like, couldn't believe his eyes. And the only downside really to that, I would say, would be some of the power scaling of the Universe 6 Saiyans, such as like when Caulifla and Kale fuse, their Super Saiyan form is allegedly supposed to be as strong as Goku's base form at that time, but that's pretty much not possible unless they were somehow divine. But other than that, it's a pretty good saga. And finally, we have the Super Broly movie, and that's the only other one that I would give an S tier. I would say it's only slightly below the Frieza Saga, just because it was only a movie. If it had been, part of the actual show, which would have been hard to do, I realize, but if it had been part of the show and had been slightly longer, I would have just liked to see a little more of Gogeta, and just, some more of what Broly can really be capable of, like maybe blow up a planet, or at least a planetary body like a moon. That would have been, really cool, and would have put it over the Frieza Saga in my opinion. But other than that, I would say it still is a very high S tier. Alright, so that's going to do it for today. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you didn't enjoy the video, leave a dislike. And I'll catch you on the flippity flop. Have a good one.